Alright, now we have a public site created. We know that we've got in SharePoint Anonymous enabled, but we also still have integrated Windows Authentication enabled, and this matches up if we go into IIS, if we go into the SharePoint site here. If we look at authentication, we can see that we still have Windows Authentication enabled. Now this is fine for the moment because there's a little bit of setting, but you'll see the warning here about it being enabled. We've got Anonymous enabled, so that's fine for the moment, but internally while we're using it, we're going to default back to Windows Authentication. So that's fine for the moment because we need to use that capability to go and change a setting. So I'm going to go over to my other machine that I've got running here, and so we can see that we've got our websites configured. So this is what we saw earlier. So under System Administration Setup, we've got our websites there. So we've got our AX6 sites public. So we want to check a setting on that. We want to make sure that Enable Anonymous is actually turned on this site so that it can use it. So we've done that. Now we want to actually go to the site, and so while we've still got Windows Authentication turned on, that's actually going to be used to authenticate me. So we need to go and change the site permissions. So while I'm the administrator and while I still have access under Windows Authentication, I want to go and change the site permissions here. And in here we have an option to enable anonymous access on SharePoint. So I want to enable anonymous access, and then I want to say to the entire website, because later we're going to go and turn off Windows Authentication on the website, and so therefore it's going to use anonymous, and we want the anonymous user to be able to have access to the site. Otherwise we'll get a error that just says when someone tries to access it, you're not authorized to use it. So I'm going to turn that on, and we'll see now that we've got this extra setting here up the top that says who can access the site, which is the anonymous user. So that configuration is done. Now we've enabled anonymous on the website, so that's fine. Now once anonymous is turned on, it's going to go into use the guest user in AX. I'm going to go into my users and I'm going to find the guest user, and you'll see by default in AX this will be disabled. In my case I've got it enabled because I've got another site that's actually created. So you want to make sure that you edit this and enable the guest user, and then you want to assign roles to it. So you want to go and assign roles and give it the guest user. Now in my case I've given it the vendor anonymous and the customer anonymous, so this will give it the basic capabilities for sign up. So we want to see these permissions. So if I added system administrator here, then the anonymous user, which is the guest user, would have system administrator. So you want to make sure that you manage these roles carefully for what permission you want that external user to have access. So that's the guest user. Make sure it's enabled, make sure the roles are configured. Now when we go across back to our machine where we're configuring the portal, in our SharePoint 80 IIS website, I'm going to go and disable now Windows Authentication, and so that will then force it to use anonymous, so that we can test out the permissions. So let's go and test out the permission sites. So we'll go to our website. Now I can type it in. I'm just using a shortcut to go to our website. We'll go to public, view in browser. Now you'll see, even though this is the same machine as I was doing before, and I'm only getting the vendor portal and the customer self-service portal, I'm not getting all of the other site information. So that tells me that the anonymous user is actually set up and configured and running okay. So if we didn't do those settings, the IIS settings, the SharePoint setting, and enable the guest user and set the websites, then we wouldn't be at this point, which is having the anonymous site up and running. So that's a quick walkthrough of the settings that need to be done for enabling the guest and the anonymous site.